All right, cool. Hey, good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, March 29th. It's 11 a.m. on East Coast time. This is meeting number two of Save USPS from Mismanagement. Meeting number one is in the show notes if you have yet to listen to it. We're moving forward with Saturday, May 23rd on informational picket lines outside of our post offices across the country. And the only way to make that really happen is cross-craft solidarity and community outreach. So today we'll talk about community outreach. We have Charlie Wishman, who is the president of the AFL-CIO of the state of Iowa. He'll come on and talk. We will also have report backs from across the country on people that have done phone banking and also have passed motions at their unions to endorse Saturday, May 23rd as a day of action. We were going to have Eddie Davidson on, but I believe he has prior arrangements or slash something has happened in his region. Um, so hopefully he joins us the next one. So to begin, as we all saw this week, PMG Postmaster Steiner, I guess his name is Dave Steiner, not Rick or Scott Steiner. I guess he's not part of the Steiner brothers from the wrestling era. He went down to Congress and did a doom and gloom like we all expected. Now he controls the narrative that the post office is broke and the mail handlers are in contract negotiations, and the NALC, the city letter carriers, are in contract negotiations as well. So when these hit the end of the road and they get forced into arbitration, arbitration is a third party law firm, and these lawyers watch the news. And if anyone has been paying attention, the news is covered on the fact that USPS is broke. Nothing is talking about how mismanaged it is. And that is why we're here today, because we are the workers. We see the mismanagement across all crafts, and we are the ones living under these collective bargaining agreements that are going to effectively affect our retirement. So I want to just quickly highlight the press releases from the four labor unions regarding PMG Congress hearing. So the National Rural Letter Carriers Association, the NRLCA, put out a press release. I'll just read a little bit of it. Quote, the association supports increasing the Postal Service's borrowing authority to ensure adequate liquidity in addressing near-term financial challenges. The NRLCA also advocates for a fair reform of the Civil Service Retirement System (CSRS) liability, which has long distorted USPS's financial position, and supports broader diversity of CSRS in federal employees retirement system (FERS) investment strategies to improve long-term returns through prudent modern investment practices. Now, APW also released a press release, quote, to avert a crisis and ensure continuity of mail service, the PMG requested that Congress extend the USPS's borrowing authority. By law, the Postal Service can only borrow money from the U.S. Treasury, and its borrowing limit is capped at $15 billion. That borrowing cap has not changed since the early 1990s. The APW supports this short-term measure. The Postmaster General also urged Congress and the administration to adopt reforms that would recalculate the Postal Service's civil service retirement system obligations and allow USPS retirement and health funds to be responsibly invested in higher yield funds. These two reforms alone would save the Postal Service billions of dollars per year and right decades-old injustices in the treatment of USPS's retirement obligations. Now, here's a quote from the National Postal Mail Handlers Union. Quote, as the Postal Service continues to struggle financially and operationally, members of Congress, including those in this very committee, have proposed privatizing processing jobs, mail handler jobs, as a means of cost reduction. The Postal Service has previously subcontracted mail handler work in several facilities. Beginning in 2023, the Postal Service has returned virtually all of this subcontracted work to postal facilities throughout the country. Now, to quote the NALC, the city carriers, a recalculation of CSRS pension obligations, increasing the borrowing authority, and changing the investment strategy for retiree and health pension funds are key financial changes that Congress and the administration should adopt. So I just read four press releases from the four labor unions, and they all have pretty much the identical things that there are reasonable reforms that the Postal Service can do. Um, but we see right now that the four postal unions are still individually organizing towards these end goals because the day after Steiner was down in Congress, the day after, we all should have been mobilized across the country to dismiss this idea that USPS is broke. And I think everyone could get along with that idea that we should have been out there talking to the media, talking to our customers, talking to our politicians that don't listen to PMG Steiner, listen to us. So that's just four examples of reforms that we can move forward with as a collective. Our national unions are on board with that. Is it ever going to happen? Probably after a couple of decades of spending PAC money to get it done. Um, we need to start mobilizing in the streets along with donating to PAC to make these things a reality in our lifetime, not into the next generation's lifetime. That's just one thing I want to go over. The other thing I want to go over real quick, and this ties it into this meeting. Mike Bates, the president of the Iowa APWU, on the first meeting talked about the Iowa Postal Council. And a lot of people are like, what the hell is that thing, right? They created a council, they created a coalition, a caucus of the Iowa postal unions. And they came together and they formed an organization. And I just want to read their statement of what it is. So, the Iowa Postal Council, the APWU, the NALC, the NPMHU, and the IPWU Joint Statement of Postal Union Solidarity. We affirm that we will stand fast against deliberate violations of our national agreements. We affirm that we will attack management's attempt to stymie our unions and/or attempts to address contract violations through the grievance arbitration process. We affirm the threat of postal privatization is real. We will educate our members and the public. We will unite and fight against moving the People's Post Office under any branch of the United States government. We further affirm that our resources will be pooled to combat any attempt to neutralize any postal union. We openly acknowledge that some work areas are under considerable stress and fortify the position that all employees must be able to work without harassment, intimidation, or threats from anyone, including supervisor and/or managers. The labor management climate has reached the point where management does what it wants, whenever it wants, without regard to our national or local agreements and/or the local officers, stewards, or members. This is viewed as a corporate plant to alienate employees and frustrate local union officers with the intent to break the union. This joint statement serves as a notice that the four unions are in solidarity and will thwart any efforts by management to undermine collective bargaining and the rights of postal employees. Lastly, but most importantly, we affirm that the American Postal Workers Union, National Postal Mail Handlers Union, and the National Association of Letter Carriers Union is and will continue to be the voice of the employee. And we have APWU 44, Mike Bates signed off on it. NALC Branch 352, Kelly Strotman signed off on it. APW Local 7027, Rob Moyer signed off on it. Mail Handler Local 333, Monica Marshall signed off on it. IPWU, Kim Carroll signed off on it. Mail Handlers Local 333, Mason Medina signed off on it. And I believe that's the City Carriers State Association, Herb Copley signed off on it. And someone asked me the other day, what's the plan moving forward and what's the end game of these meetings, right? So we do Saturday May 23rd, but that's one day of action. We need to keep going. And I said, I have no plan on what the end game is. That is up to the rank and file members to decide the future of the Postal Service. Some people might just want to go hold signs for a day and go back to work. Others might want to keep networking and keep organizing towards one big union. And others might just want to create little networks like this Iowa Postal Council in their area to organize locally. So that's the answer to what is the end game. The end game is we haven't decided that yet because we're still growing. Um, so I want to bring in Charlie Wishman to talk about why it's important for postal unions, postal workers to practice cross-craft solidarity and international solidarity with other labor unions. Um, Most people probably are not aware the AFL-CIO has central labor councils in, I believe, all 50 states. And within all 50 states, they have smaller central labor councils, depending on how big your state is. And I want to advocate everyone that is moving forward with informational picket lines to reach out to their local central labor council. Because one of the questions that is coming up is what happens if it's just me and two others? But it doesn't have to be you and two others. You could reach out to your community and we could inflate these numbers because it's about solidarity. It's not just our post office, it's everyone's post office. So, Charlie, can you come on and introduce yourself?
Yeah, hey, thank you, John. Excuse me, I lost my, hey, Margot. So I lost my voice a little bit yesterday at No Kings. So apologize. But appreciate, first of all, everybody who came out yesterday for anything like that. It's a really, really good example of where the community with union members, everybody coming together, we can fight back some of these attacks. Um, if you think about where we were a year ago, you had, a crazy billionaire on ketamine that was trying to rip up the federal government, which, by the way, you all know this, of course. It's still happening. But together, all of us, we sent that guy running from the U.S. government with his tail between his legs, right? The richest man on the planet. This labor movement can do anything. And I firmly believe that when we are all united together. And when I think about that, um, gosh, back, if you remember back to January of last year, people were so despondent over what the heck just happened, especially federal workers. What the heck is going to happen to us going forward? And I was just I loved it because the first person who called us at the state fed and said, "Hey, we need to do something," was Margot O'Neill, uh, and out of Branch 352 here in Des Moines. Um, and it was about 3 degrees, maybe. But man, very little preparation. But when you reach out to your state federation and your local central labor council, we can help to get people there because people, other unions, they care about y'all. They want to be there, but they don't know about it unless you let other people know, right? And I see this every single union does this. They get really, we are really great at dealing with that thing that's right in front of our face, but not necessarily looking ahead, right? And building out these coalitions. Because I think that more than just about any other union, um, postal unions have this connection to the community that other folks don't. People love whether it's the people at the post office, the clerks, everybody, all the staff that makes that work. People love their carriers. People love the services that they get. It's kind of like the library. It's something like you don't think is that uh, big of a deal in your life, but there's nothing that'll fill a city council chambers quicker than if the city council starts talking about cutting libraries and their librarians. People love their public services like that. And so, just backing up a little bit, real quick, just for those of you who may not know, a lot of people on this call should, but the AFL stands for the American Federation of Labor Congress of Industrial Organizations, and none of that is important. except to say that with the AFL-CIO is we are not a union. We are the place where unions can come together, either at the national level, at the state level, or at the local level. And it's around whatever shared goals. So it's not just things like protests and pushing back, whether it's legislatively or whatever the plan, public relations wise, whatever the plan calls for. We're here to assist in all of that kind of stuff too. But if we have organizing goals, right? Say the carriers and the mail handlers and APW, there's an organizing target where people can all work together. How do we help? How do we help get everyone working together, right? Or maybe, that CWA member lives next door to a postal worker target. How do we talk to CWA to help turn them, right? So there's ways we can all work together. Maybe it's political, maybe it's whatever, but the AFL-CIO is a place where we come together for those shared goals. And we're not here to tell you what your goals should be. Just like you said, at your level, you want it to be what the members want. We work for our affiliate unions in whatever direction you want to go. We are here to help you all be successful. So, I mean, that's a little bit about us and what we do and what we're for. And sometimes people will say, well, heck, people all the time ask me, what is it that you do? And it's really hard to explain, right? Just like a lot of you. Um, and I usually say, at the end of the day, if most of the unions in the state are still going in the same direction, it's been a good day, because it is a coalition effort. We got to keep everybody on the same page. But at the end of the day, everybody is there for each other in solidarity. And don't think just because you may not necessarily hear from an IBW or a machinist or whoever, right? But if they know that there's a struggle going on, they will be there and they will show up. And I think, Margot, you could attest for that. If Mike Bates, if you're on this, I mean, I don't think you guys can point to a time where your state federation or your labor councils haven't been there for that. So, last thing I'd say is I would just encourage you, if you don't know who your state federation is, you have one. There's one in all 50 states and in Puerto Rico. Reach out to them. If you don't know who your local labor council is, there is one. It's usually those yellow spots on the map. If for those people who still use maps, it's usually based in a community, but it serves rural areas around there as well. But it's the local level of how do we bring people together. So, but that's really it. It's at the end of the day, how do we bring people together around shared goals? And we have so much more in common than we have that divides us. We can always find some from common ground. So that's what we do. And I'm happy for any questions or if anyone wants to chime in and say, here's how we've worked with our state federation or our labor council or even with here in Iowa. Um, yeah, thank you very much. Appreciate you having me on this morning. Just to give a little plug for CLCs and state federations. We're here for you.
Cool. Thank you. We'll come back to the CLCs at the end. For the most people that don't realize, if you're an NELC or a city carrier, or you're pretty much in any union, your branch is probably paying into the central labor councils, and they probably don't have delegates. So this is a good way for anyone to get involved, is to attend the monthly meetings. A lot of them have now adopted Zoom meetings as well. You go in, you hear report backs from all different labor unions across your area. A lot of it's about campaigning and lobbying, but other federations, other councils are about organizing and mobilizing. I know Chris could probably speak to the one in Massachusetts. There's multiple central labor councils in Massachusetts, and when I was living in Massachusetts, I went to one and it was all about get out the vote, and then I went to the southeastern one and it was about actually organizing the workers and how, as a community, we need to work together to organize. And it just shows the difference of the leadership of a central labor council. But in the end, it's all about the vibe of the area. So get involved with them. Um, if anyone wants to actually find out if you have a Central Labor Council, just go into Google, type in AFL-CIO Central Labor Council, and it's usually the first thing that pops up called State Federations and Labor Councils. Before I turn it over to the next person, I want to go down a list of like community groups, right? So far we've talked about getting our branches on board, right? And then we talked about plugging in with other postal unions, right? Like we have the networks, we're going to keep growing it. So you got your branch on board, you got your postal workers that work inside your office on board. You reached out to your central labor council, so you keep developing these networks, and you go, okay, what else can I do? Where else can I go? Um, there's just a list of organizations. I'm gonna just go down real quick. Um, so you got the Central Labor Councils, you got the Alliance for Democracy, you have Alliance for Retired Americans, you have the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, you have the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists, you have the Coalition of Labor Union Women, you have Jobs with Justice, and have to give them a personal shout out because Jobs with Justice in Massachusetts was the organization I first got active with, and they're really about mobilizing the rank and file members, and that is what we want. The other organizations are the Labor Council for Latin American Advancement, the National Alliance of Postal and Federal Employees, the 925 organization, Pride at Work, Industrial Workers of the World, Democratic Socialists of America. And then for more community platforms, reach out to your church and faith groups, your local political parties. As we just saw yesterday, Saturday, March 28th, we seen a lot of political faith and community groups unite across the country. The other thing is online organizing platforms. The biggest one right now, I think, is the mobilize.us platform where you could go in, you could create an event, aka Saturday, May 23rd, informational picket line outside your post office, create an account, plug it in, and you could get people start signing up there. Also, your local Facebook community groups. I know those are mostly toxic and terrible, but throw the bait out there, see what bites, because a lot of people support the post office, and they'll come out. So if you're afraid that it might just be two people on an informational picket line at 7 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. and you get someone from a Facebook community group to come out, you just doubled your numbers, right? So that's that. I'm going to put that list and websites into this week's email thing along with the Iowa Postal Coalition statement. And I want to pass this over to Virgilio to give a report back if he's ready on his phone banking up there in region two, I believe. Virgilio, you here?
Yeah, yeah. Can you guys hear me? So, John tapped me to do some phone banking on the list that for the people who signed up last meeting. It was very good. A lot of people are very receptive on the ideas that are coming out of this meeting. We are trying to organize for the was it May 27th for here in Branch 79. There's a lot of Branch 79 folks who signed up. So hopefully some of the other branches as they've talked to they will bring the motion to their own branches to do a morning picket, and I believe it was John who proposed this to like do a letter writing campaign to Congress about the mismanagement of the postal service and the 30 for 30 campaign to respond to Dave Steiner's like doom and gloom, because that's one of the things that we're hearing from the workroom floor is a lot of people are taking in the talking point that we're losing money and we'll will we even have jobs next year? So in order to push back to that, we have to have like a different narrative, right? Like, hey, it's not the letter carriers or the mail handlers or the clerks. It's not the craft that's causing the mismanagement of the postal service. It's directly the bloated bureaucracies, the bloated management that is the cause for a lot of our woes. Like 1/9 of the budget deficit is grievance payouts, as the OIG report showed. So we have to target where the problem is. So we have to let the Congress people know that, and that is a very receptive thing for a lot of letter carriers on the workroom floor. So that's what the things that I've heard from the people from the I've called in. They're very receptive, and hopefully some of them are here in the call and they can talk about their perspective on their talks with the other folks on the ground.
All right, cool. The next person I'm gonna call on, I should have gave you guys a heads up, but Mike Rivera, I gave him Region 1, which is, if you're not a city letter carrier, Region 1 is California and I believe Nevada. Mike, can you give a report back on your phone banking to people?
Hey everyone, good morning. The phone banking went well. There was a lot of receptive replies. A lot of folks willing to talk. It's a great experience. Anybody who's on here who gets tasked on phone banking, I strongly urge not to be afraid. Jump right in. The great thing about city letter carriers, about or clerks alike, the people we all love to talk. And so I would go and, what started with like a, intent of a 5 minute conversation ended up being 15, 20, 30. Everyone wants to share their insight on how things are going. There's a lot of issues with management just put the microaggressions there. They're pushing people on meeting times and their management's quote unquote standards without properly educating the carriers. No, there's no education among the carriers regarding simple safety stuff like hip training. I was talking to a person in Calexico who's telling me that they're running their carriers out there 100-degree weather and they're not able to take breaks. That kind of stuff needs to stop. So the kind of that type of networking with sharing information. If you guys could provide information during the phone banking, that's honey there for people for city letter carriers. That's the sweet that keeps having them come back. So when we phone bank, I think it's really important that we also provide that information, that incentive that show, hey, we are here to try to make a difference within your area as much as we can. That way, they'll be more inclined to jump into these Zoom meetings, jump into the 30 for 30, because then they know that we're actively in real time trying to make changes to the way the system is working against us. But yes, very receptive, very, very, very insightful, and a lot of energy there of people wanting to see the bloated management structure be reduced, have fair days wages, and just there is a response.
Cool. Thank you. The next person up will be Margot. Again, I'm just a rank and file member. My name is John Murphy. I'm out of branch 4716 down here in Naples, Florida. This is mostly a rank and file postal unions movement. Um, so I want to pass this over to Margot, who's also just a rank and file member. Margot, I want to give a report back for your region. She did region 5.
Yes, I did Region 5, which includes Iowa, Missouri, and I think a couple, Nebraska, I think a couple other surrounding states. And it was really easy. I think there were only about like 12 numbers to call. And see, the funny thing about phone banking that you don't expect when you like phone bank for the first time and kind of like learn about what phone banking is that is that most people don't answer the phone. Most people don't answer. So, but the funny thing is, because if you've ever done political phone banking before, you know that, you're gonna call the number, you're gonna like answer the phone, you're gonna say, "Hi, my name is Margot and I'm with, XYZ campaign." And they're gonna be like, "Get out." Like, no, they don't always, they're not always mean. They're not always like, "Hey, shut up," leave me alone. Um, but there, even if you're doing it politically, they don't always act that way. Sometimes they do. But when I did phone calls for Next Gen and when I was calling through, yes, Austin Webb, you're somebody that I reached out to. And Austin Webb has a podcast, by the way. So plug that in the chat. But one thing that was really great about making these phone calls was that everyone who answered the phone, it was actually a lot of people kind of answered, and everyone who answered was happy to talk. They were excited to talk to somebody who gets it, someone who understands. Um, and yeah, a lot of people are really psyched up for the 30 for 30 campaign, and they're really psyched up to have um parking lot pickets on May 23rd. A lot of people are excited to bring them up in their union meetings and their branches and everything to really get this ball rolling. So I only had a few numbers to call in Region 5, but I will say I had a lot of success and I talked to a lot of really cool people. So that's my report back. It's kind of messy. I did not prepare.
It's okay. The other people that phone banked was Steve Olender in Region 11. He can't make it to this meeting right now. He has prior arrangements. He said his phone banking was a lot of positive energy. Folks are going to bring motions to their branches next month and this month, what's left of it, to see what's up, to get them to endorse informational picket lines. The other person was Joshua Shrum, Region 6. He kind of got bogged down. He phone banked, but he also built more connections along the way of APWU members. So he didn't get the full list done, but he did get stuff. The other person was Charmaine. She was phone banking Region 4. And I believe she's not here. I should have looked before I even said that. Yeah, she's not here. But she I called her the other day and she had all the same attitudes. Um, but anyone that's listening, everyone that's here, there's currently over 40 people in this Zoom chat on a Sunday morning. So clearly you guys are invested. This idea to do informational picket lines started with just myself down in Naples, Florida, doing it on February 25th when contract negotiations officially started. And then co-host James Capone said, "Do you think we could actually organize a nationwide day of action?" And I said, "Let's try it." And I want to put this out to everyone that's listening. It doesn't matter if you're a CCA or you're a retiree. We cannot change our union and we cannot change the post office by just me. We need help. So I'm asking you, if you have time to phone bank, if you have time to become a captain of your state, of your region, send us an email, nextgenerationcarriers@gmail.com. As we just heard, people phone banking, people signed up for this list and they want to get more involved. All the phone banking is following up with the person if they're interested in bringing a motion to the union meeting, find out when that union meeting is, if they need help on preparing for the union meeting, because they might never have actually stepped up and brought a motion, because that could be the hardest thing. And also to see if they're willing to contact their politicians. And we're going to talk about this at the third meeting, is drafting the letter to send out to our politicians. But I don't want to do that by myself. I want us to, as a collective, have a working group based around that. So again, like I said, the NALC, the National Association of Letter Carriers, has 14 regions, but so far we only have like 5 people volunteering. So again, if anyone wants to help make this a reality, please get involved, because the next thing everyone's talking about is, well, what happens after the informational picket lines? And people are like, let's do a day of action. But I don't want another fight like hell day of action. I want a real day of action like the Boston boys did up there in the Boston Common last year across the street from the State House, where they had Congressperson Steve Lynch speak, and they worked as a collective. The regional and the national weren't really helping them, and so they united with other branches, leaderships, and they worked together. And this is where it starts. You got to start locally and building these networks to make it good, or else you're going to end up like a Brian Renfro fight like hell rally with 5 people on a street corner in the middle of nowhere. That's not what we want. Um, Again, this movement is up to you guys to see how it goes. So I'm gonna call on Xavier, because he brought a motion to his union meeting last week and it it passed. So Xavier, are you here? Can you talk about who you are, your anxiety of walking into a union meeting to bring a motion, and the victory that you won?
Yeah. Can y'all hear me? All right. Yeah. Down here in Branch 181, our past meeting, we actually passed a motion to endorse the informational pickets, and fortunately, it actually passed unanimously. It probably was due to sort of the like riding off the coattails of our Fight Like Hell rally. People were wanting to do more, They didn't want to just stop at, one rally and then do nothing. So that probably definitely helped with winning the room over. Um, Prior to the meeting, though, a few of us down here in Austin actually did phone bank some of the people that showed up to the rally to try to see if we could get them to come to the branch meeting so that we can have the room more in our favor when it came to bringing up this motion. And prior to that meeting, I think I've only ever brought up one motion before at any branch meeting. So um, it was a little intimidating, I'd say, especially because I had to keep going up to the mic. It was a very busy meeting. I'm sure at some point there was some members in there that were just like, "Oh my God, he's going back up." Um, but it's definitely a thing that um, if you just kind of throw yourself into it and just do it, it's really not that scary. And I'd say, at least in my experience, you're going to find more people in support of it than not. And and I get that maybe it's a bit of an anomaly here that it was so unanimous. So if you're in a branch where you might see a lot more resistance, or you might be in a branch where there, not enough members even show up for a quorum, um, it'll definitely take a little bit more legwork to get there, and it'll start with a lot more organizing conversations, talking with your buddies in your office to sort of gauge their opinion on it. And then this is the part where you can actually, sorry, I don't know what's going on with my throat. Hope I'm not getting sick. Um, this is the part where you can actually kind of sell them on the idea um, before the branch meeting. And I'm willing to bet 9 times out of 10, majority of the people will be in favor of it. I mean, when you give the carrier an opportunity to to complain about management, they will run with it. So if you get them on the workroom floor, talk to them of this idea of hey, we should do a 30 for 30 informational picket, I'm sure you'd get a lot of support. And that's where you can then sell them on the idea of, hey, well, our branch meeting's coming up in a few days, and it would be great if you could show up and support me with endorsing this motion. And um, it doesn't have to be too much when you go up to endorse a motion, or when you go up to pass a motion. Um, you get time to discuss it as well after it's being seconded. So from there, you can then go on and explain your case to the rest of the room. And if you brought people along, it'll be good to potentially maybe have some more talking points available for other people, because after it's open for discussion, then it goes for people to talk for and against it. And this would be the opportunity for you to get the people that you brought in and got involved to speak in favor of it and win the room over. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Um, I'll speak. I'm in branch 4716 down here in Naples, Florida. Um, and most of the time I go to a union meeting and I'm usually the only person that's a rank and file member. It's usually the executive council there and barely making quorum. So this past 2 weeks ago, the third Wednesday of the month is our union meeting. I went there and I was like, I'm gonna bring a motion to the floor, and we just made quorum. I was like, all right, pass that test. Next one, they're like new business. And I said, hey, the contract expires on May 23rd would be the first day of working under an NELC expired contract. And across the country, we're going to start mobilizing days of actions. And they're like, all right, cool. What do you want to do? I was like, let's do an informational picket line. And my branch president's like, where? I was like, I was actually thinking out of the big post office. Luckily, it's my day off. I'm color red on that day. And he goes, okay. And then the vice president out of nowhere goes, I make a friendly amendment that we do all post offices that we cover under our branch. And I said, even better. Um, so it passed unanimously, and the 14 people who were in the room were kind of shocked. That was even like a real thing, because it was like, wait, do we just vote in favor of Murphy? Usually we're like kind of put him on the sidelines. So it was pretty cool. So if anyone that hasn't brought a motion to their union, please feel empowered to, because even the retirees there, they were talking about it. This is a real threat. The public support every year keeps going down and our contracts keep getting weaker. And the only reason why we have a contract is because the public likes us for now. And as you see with public education, once you lose the public support, the privatizers and the special interests come in and start taking pieces away. And I want to relate this real quick because down here in Florida, the charter schools, aka, private education, um, they've passed a law saying that they could set up a charter school inside your own public school. So if your public school has a gymnasium that's vacant from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., they could set up a classroom in there. So you can relate that now with the post office. If we start shrinking our offices, what's preventing us from having FedEx or competition loan out parts of our post office? Because a couple of years ago, I think it was like 10 years ago at this point, we had APWU do the Stop Staples campaign where Staples was kind of trying to take over the post office. So the fight's always there. We just got to put up the fight. Um, so that's it for now. I kind of want to open the floor to anyone that has any questions, comments, or concerns, or any report backs on their branch. If anyone has got their branch to endorse it or tabled it, I know folks in Illinois have tabled it. They liked the idea, but they weren't sure on the date. They thought it was Friday, but it is Saturday, May 23rd. Informational picket lines before work. So Chris has his hands up. We'll call on him.
All right, thank you. And thank you everybody who spoke today. This has been great. I mean, thank you also all 41 of you. This is a good thing to see this happening. So I just got a few thoughts about phone banking too. I don't know about the rest of you. I hate fucking calling strangers on the phone. It's just my thing. I don't like I like Zoom. Zoom's fine. And but so fortunately I want to give props to my brother there, brother Ryan Miller out in 34, who organized a phone banking. This was for the survey. So there's a little we put it up and everything, but he got together. We all met in real life at his place in Quincy and we had a list. We also had talking points, so it was all that we had a little script to follow. So you don't want to ad lib it. That's just it. So there's we all got. So I got a box of Joe and donuts and bagels, and we belted out probably I don't know 60, 80 names over it. There was like five of us, so we all took a little turns. We had a fun time going about it. And what everyone else said, the conversations went very well. A lot of people, they're not going to recognize the number, leave a voicemail, they'll listen. And a lot of the times we do get calls back from people. Um, so that was really great. It really was a positive experience. It was just nice to do it in real life. We all walked in different corners and everything, shared stories and everything. The conversation would go so well. Some people had strong opinions about President Renfro. I'm not going to repeat them for their legal issues, but they weren't happy, and and we had a chat. It was fine. Everyone. It's just really, I can't emphasize it was a good thing to have that conversation. Um, and another thing too, about the 30 for 30 campaign. This is something that's been thinking about. We're blaming management for mismanagement, which is fine. Also, we should also paint a target at Congress. Congress, since 2006 with the PAEA, that whole thing about the pre-funding mandate that was draining billions. So it started, you keep saying, oh, they've been losing billions of dollars every year. It started with the PAEA, which was that whole thing to pre-fund retirees who haven't been born yet. That money's still sitting in an account, but that money still sits there. Also, there's a thing called the Spiegel report, which is like Congress owes us $100 billion. This isn't like a conspiracy theory. Congressman Stephen Lynch, who's my representative, and Murphy brought him up. He pointed this out in like never brought up. So Congress also played, and Congress on the behalf of FedEx, on the behalf of UPS, because they don't want a cheaper public option. They don't like that. It's bad for business. So that's why they're doing it. David Steiner is literally from FedEx. He's not on our side. He's a manager, but I'm glad we're going to have this thing. But please bring up Congress. Congress right now has a 29% approval rating. They're not popular, so feel free to bring them up. So I just want to bring that up too. So also Congress should be a part of this conversation too. So they help create this mess. we can try to pressure them to fix it. So that's just my 2 cents.
Sorry. We got Badmouth, John Morris.
Yo, hey, thanks for being here, guys. Y'all are doing the Lord's work. I just want to echo what some folk have already said. This is honestly, I hate phone banking so gosh dang much. But this is the easiest phone banking I've ever done because the list you're going to get from Murph for your area are people who've just now submitted their numbers and just now already shown interest in the thing, right? If you're phone banking for other stuff, you're getting out of date information. Some people just hang up on you. They tell you they don't want to talk. They tell you, lose my number. That's not the case here. This is the easiest phone banking I've ever done. So don't be shy about it. Also, it talked about the AFL-CIO and some of their auxiliary groups. One of the ones that are most effective that I've found for disseminating information at this point is talking to the retiree groups. We have like TARA, which is the Texas Association of Retired Americans. They immediately all send that to all their different email chains, and like they're sending information to their churches, and you know who writes their congressman the most? It's going to be the retirees. So like you utilize the retirees. That's where the retirees keep their power in labor movements and stuff like that. And they're definitely going to be bullish on this. Other stuff. We have the food drive coming up, right? That's a way to connect to the community. You can be talking about talking about this stuff as you work alongside different community groups. Because yeah, everyone loves the post office, and no one wants to see their stamps go up to $2 a stamp, right? Yeah, I just want to encourage y'all with that. As far as down in Texas, we hit a bunch of the numbers. I guess there's some new ones that I got to hit, and then I'm working on New Mexico, and then some of our sister and brother and sister and cousin crafts. But yeah, you guys are dope, and you do dope stuff. Adios.
Thank you, John Morris. Mike Rivera.
Hey, so, sorry for the noise in the background, making pancakes this early morning out here in the West Coast. Friendly suggestion. With a lot of folks here, I've talked to a lot of folks here off Zoom, and I know the social media game is strong. I think what's really important is to get the word out there, and for subsequent meetings and for the day of action. Of course, filtering through Murphy and Chris would be ideal. Is if we can start maybe designing flyers, and maybe drafting some sort of social media a script, and passing it through Murphy and Chris. And if we get the blessing, we go out there and we put it out there and we blast it. We gotta. The more we talk about it in the open, the more people are gonna see it. It's gonna hit people's timelines. If we, I see what Next Gen puts out, and then for the first meeting, I went ahead and I sent a flyer draft to Murphy, and Murphy, he gave the blessing, and we posted it up there, and it got interactions, it got reactions. I think everyone here has the potential to maybe design something, run it for up to Murphy and Chris, and see if we can go ahead and start just flooding the timeline with this information, so that nobody gets missed out. No stone is unturned. We can definitely try to maximize our outreach through everyone here involved. So I think that's another front, along with phone banking, that could just help keep spreading the word. It's tough. It's a tough job to do with everything that John's been doing. He's taken the initiative. He's the spear, and I think we all could, if we all have a little bit of that, we all have a bit of a talent there that we can incorporate. We can try offer our services in trying to kind of help spread the word in a way that catches people's eye.
Thank you, Michael. I believe we have Sarah up next. Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
sorry.
Sarah.
So my branch is one of the branches in Illinois that had brought up the idea and talked about the informational picket. They just didn't make any type of motion or um, make it, I guess, official yet. But we also still have another meeting before then as well. I think they're going to really push it at the April meeting. Um, yeah.
Any any more details on the feedback that the membership was given?
So there actually wasn't as many members at that meeting as usual, so it's possible there was feedback on Zoom and I didn't really see what was going on. Melissa Rakestraw is my branch president. She's normally on these meetings, so yeah.
Okay, cool. I think Matt Confer raised his hand. Let me unmute him. I think he has something to say. Matt, you there?
Yeah, hi. I just wanted to say you guys are doing a great job, and we have our meeting in our local branch coming up on the first. And I'm a newer carrier, but I'm definitely gonna get all this information out in my union meeting. And once again, good job. I appreciate everything you guys do.
Cool. Thank you. It is now close to noon. Um, if anyone else has anything to add to this, please raise your hand. We could close out the meeting. I guess the next meeting we'll have to kind of talk about, right? Chris, you have any ideas when you're available? Yeah, you're on mute.
Sorry, I have a 90-pound Labrador retriever on my lap who is being very demanding about that. I'm looking. Oh, now you got off. Thank you, bud. All right, so would this is the 19th, April 19th. Maybe we could do that if that's all right with it. And that's going to be at 8 p.m. I think we were possibly talking about. So yeah, that's effort. All right, so if that works for everybody, I guess we could put that to a vote. I know we've been kind of switching off between like 11 a.m. and 8 p.m. Pros and cons for both. You know, some people can do nights, some can do mornings, but so I would like to propose April 19th at 8 p.m. So that's just me for right now.
All right. Before we move on to that, let's see if CP pours. I'll unmute and you could speak.
Hi, guys. I got in late last night, so I didn't get into the meeting till just about now. I got a question. I'm an old guy, but not that old in the post office. And I have a situation where maybe some of you guys have run across it, maybe not. And I'm thinking of filing a grievance against the management of the post office. In this case, specifically, probably against two people. I'm in Nashville, local 4, and I think I've mentioned this in meetings in the past, maybe not with you guys, but with the others, where there doesn't seem to be anybody else in Nashville who's ever getting on these meetings. And I've had a couple of people who I've asked because they've actually tried to get involved with the union, but aren't particularly thrilled with what goes on locally. But it's a timing thing for a lot of them. That said, my question is this. I'm in a unit that is fairly small and we don't have in many of the cities across the country. It's called collections. And we, in fact, do the pickups for businesses. And if you really think of it in an economics way, we are the primary place where new business is going to come. And what is new business? The only place for growth in the post office and in the world. But I can't get management to listen. I am, in fact, somebody said, "Are you Italian?" I said, "Just the de factos." I'm the de facto head of my group. All right. I can't even get my postmaster to respond to emails, and he never comes out of his office. We're not a small unit because obviously we've got 16 stations under him. And my philosophy on management, which I have been in the past, is that We work for him, but he works for us. And if he's not willing to answer, the problem is nobody above him will force him to answer. His assistant, the MCSO, 2 years ago, he just blew me off. He had an appointment with me and he wouldn't even come out of his office. Now, I actually know that these guys can't answer any of my questions because what we do is sort of an amalgam between the carriers at one end, but for us, it's working with sales and PVS, the bigger trucks, and trying to get stuff picked up. Because if we can't grow our sales, we will go bankrupt. I mean, flat out, that's the problem. But they don't seem to want to hear it. We just got audited this week, which is the second time in 10 years. So they really have no clue. So here's my question. Is it something where I literally just knock on his door till he opens the door? Or is it something where I should file a complaint? Any thoughts, guys? And yes, I'm a troublemaker, but in the John Lewis sense of the troublemaker. We try and do something that makes things better, and they don't seem to really care. All right, I'll leave it back to you guys.
I was gonna say CP. I'll meet you. Hey, you're in Tennessee. That is NELC Region 8. If I give you a list of people to phone bank, are you interested in phone banking to help build to
I
build?
can. I probably will give it to those others because they're younger than I and seemingly have more time. I
Let me
won't
get
say
my
that they always do, but that's the problem for all of us, obviously. I mean, you're switching times here and there because like today I'm like, oh, it's a 12. No, shit, it was a 10 o'clock meeting. Ah, okay, I missed this one. So things like that can happen for all of us. But the answer is yeah. I mean, to some degree, we have to be able to get. I'm going to say it flat out. I don't like my local union. They're very ineffectual. All right. And I'm going to say that some of you guys are in management of the unions in your local areas, but here, even getting a call back from the local president, it's like it never happens. I'll leave her notes. I don't hear anything back. We were supposed to have scheduled a labor management meeting. It's going on a month now. Haven't heard anything. Now, it might not be on her part that the problem is there. It is more likely at the postmaster's area. But the fact is that we can't just go, look, if you're not going to come, we're going to make decisions without you. Get your
Yeah.
butt here. And I'm not saying,
You're not
yeah,
alone. I don't
yeah,
think if you haven't heard of Mike Rivera out of Branch 70,
I have
um,
heard of him. Yes.
yeah, not every branch leadership is in favor of the rank and file, and not every rank and file
Right.
is in favor of their branch. But I am going to be in contact with you regarding phone banking and mobilizing.
Okay.
Um, cool. Thank you. I'm going to call.
And
Oh,
I have said this on one meeting previously. Hang on. Do I get on you?
yeah, you're
Unmute?
good. You're
Yeah.
good.
Okay. I am old. Okay. And I actually remember 1970. In fact, Vincent's son was somebody I met. And if anybody knows what lacrosse is, Vinny Sombroto was probably one of the best lacrosse players in the history of the game. But back when he was playing, nobody made money. So I met him when he was carrying ice every day. And I don't mean those people with masks on their face. In any case, sometimes you just have to do things that you're not supposed to do. And I have heard tell in some areas, and I've never seen anybody here from Albany, but those guys are involved frequently with the labor movement up there. Where here, again, I don't know anybody who's really active in any real way. So
Yeah.
contact
Hey,
me. We can see what we can make happen.
Greg, co-host Greg is going to jump on and answer your questions. Greg, you there?
Yeah, sorry, I'm on my phone. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
So just in terms of CP's question, so every quarter, it's pretty. I think mine's next week for my region is they do the customer connect talks. So what I would do was email your business agent or one of the RAAs because that is what they talk about in customer connect in terms of like it sounds like you have some businesses around you that want pickups or not getting the attention. So I know I speak about that when I go to the customer connect Zooms, and that's management and one of the RAAs. So what I would do is send your business agent an email or call the business agent's office and say you'd like to attend the next Zoom meeting on Customer Connect. It's usually done by Poon groups, and state literally what you just said on here or there. Like there's nobody's doing anything about this business, the pickups out there and the business that can be accumulated.
Well, one other thing just to mention, and it is because of the nature of how the post office works. Their primary salesman for Nashville retired towards the end of last year.
Yeah.
He's never been replaced.
Well,
They
that's
have
typical
one
post
guy
office. Yeah.
doing three sales jobs, can't
Yeah.
obviously keep up with all the calls. There, once in a while, I'll get him to actually go see somebody who was never his connection because they won't replace him. And it's done like the rest of it's done on bid, but they never put the bid out till after the
Yeah.
person is officially retired. And he took 3 or 4 months before it was official, but he's been
All right.
gone since the end of the year and not replaced. And again, how do we,
Boris,
and
I
it's
don't want to
something,
jump.
well, I was
I don't
going to
want
say,
to.
I'm going to get you out of this one. I'm going to
All right.
say, how do we move into the future if we're not picking up packages? Because obviously, when was the last time any of us wrote a letter to somebody? So if we're
Right.
not doing packages, there is no future. We have to be able to do this. That's it.
Cool.
I'll let you
Thank,
go.
thank you. We're gonna call on Christopher Jenkins, and then we'll move into voting on the next meeting because let's wrap this up.
All right. Hey, I'm Chris Jenkins. I'm from 3867 in Deer Park. In regards to Mr. Torres, uh, maybe I'm being naive, but have you tried contacting him via email? If because that's submittable through arbitration. So you could file the grievance and just make sure that you stay in communication with them via email, and that communication is just as good as face-to-face communication. Arbitrators have deemed. So if you can't find the email or you don't have the contact, you can check Light Blue, log in, go to the little link under HR, and it says Learning. Then if you click Learning Library after that, then it will give you a little search bar in the top right. If you search any person, carrier, anyone's name in that top search bar, it'll pop down a list of those people that you will look for. I'm sorry if I'm going over things everyone knows, but from there you can get their contact information, and you can even find who their boss is from under there, who's their higher level, and you can get more information. Even copy those people into it. There's nothing wrong with sending a mass email because they're not communicating with you.
Unfortunately, this is a long going thing. I have done all of that. I've actually been in his boss's office 7 times in the last 4 weeks, who will not see me either. I've given them paperwork. They're saying they've kicked it up the line because what I'm asking, and this is something that you guys have a defined job. You got to deliver the mail to boxes every day. We have a slightly different situation, and I've been told we've kicked it up the chain. Here's the problem. His boss and his boss, that guy's boss, have no clue what we do, and they don't seem to be involved in the only future the post office has. They're siloed. So they only know what delivery is. If you're in delivery, that's a good thing because they'll know everything about it, hopefully. But if you're not, then you're in a point where, is there anybody here? And that's his boss's boss. I was in his office, said to his executive secretary, because he
All
wouldn't
right.
come out of
Hey,
his office.
hey, can I put an end to
Anyway,
this?
we're
Because
going to let
yeah,
it go. We're going to let it go.
all right.
Yeah.
We're gonna wrap up with Josh to do a mail handlers report. Um, Josh, you're there, and then we're gonna call it, and then we're gonna vote on the next meeting. Thank you all. Josh.
Yes. Sorry, I just dropped a link to a PDF in the chat, which is a short update from NPMHU. Essentially, management is stonewalling. Progress on reaching a tentative agreement has slowed, and it's becoming less likely that a tentative agreement is even going to be reached. Um, this is something that my local branch president mentioned to me like a couple weeks ago was likely to be the case. So it doesn't mention it in this document, but it's that arbitration might be on the table, which really sucks. Um, I also wanted to sorry, I also wanted to ask if people had like report backs on like for those who went to the No Kings yesterday, like if they were able to like reach out to the public in that capacity and oh my goodness, I barely have my thoughts together right now. Um,
Cool.
and
Thank you.
last question, sorry, last thing I wanted to propose the same date for the next meeting, but 8:30 or 9 o'clock to accommodate the people who do that like 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. meeting, as I believe Jamie Partridge already mentioned in the chat.
All right, cool. Thank you. Yeah, Chris's idea was what was it? April 14th?
April 19th.
April 19th, Sunday.
Sunday, April 19th at 8 p.m. for our next planning meeting.
I think Jamie Partridge put a friendly amendment in for 9 p.m. You cool with 9 p.m. meeting?
9, that's fine with me. Yeah.
All right. So Sunday, April 19th, 9 p.m. Let's vote on this. Let's do a show of hands. Everyone raise your hand if you're in favor of this.
Just hit the react thing. If you can't do it, just wave your hand. Please don't just do the react. There we go. All right. Give a 5 count. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I see 18 right now. All right. You can and then lower hands if you could. I think there's an option. Okay. If you oppose this idea, it's okay to raise your hand if you oppose meeting at 9 p.m. on Sunday, April 19th. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, 18 to 1. The resolution passes for our next meeting at Sunday, April 19th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, perfect. Two. All right.
Chris,
Yeah,
you're good.
and also another thing too, I just want to plug everything too before I close this out. So if you have WhatsApp and you want to keep the conversation going or you have ideas, that's the link right there. There's certain breakout groups if you want to talk politics. You know, that's fine. We'd like to have talk about politics, but the politics, the general chat, and also resolution. So if you have any resolutions for the national convention, help if you need help passing a resolution, join that resolution group there in the WhatsApp group. The other link I will plug as well is that if you want to, we have an email list. So if you want to keep in touch with everything, the best way to do it, just click that link right there to sign up for our email list. And also, we're going to be in about 47 minutes. We're going to be doing an Ask Me Anything with Mike Cariff, who is running for president of the union. Hopefully, we can have all the candidates come on for this. But if you have any questions about the 30 for 30 campaign, he was at our last meeting. But if you want to talk about anything we discussed here, Mike's open for an AMA, and that's in 45 minutes. So have at it. So those are the three things we'd like to plug for everybody. And I'll kick it back to John.
All right, for all the listeners out there, please share this with your branch leadership. Also, in the show notes is meeting number 1. Share that as well with your branch leadership. Um, we have a world to win, but first we need to win a contract. So if you want to stay involved, if you want to come to the next Zoom meetings for organizing to save USPS from mismanagement, go to nextgenerationcarriers.com and you'll see the 30 for 30. Click that, register on the Zoom, and we'll put your name into the database for the email list. The other thing I want to give everyone a shout out to listen to is the podcast called People of Agency. I discovered them on TikTok. They will be coming onto our podcast soon. I want to give everyone a strong encouragement to listen to episode 11. It is called A Death by a Thousand Cuts. It talks about the history of AT&T and special interests destroying the innovation of the post office. We try to be on the offense. The post office tries to be on the fence, but the capitalism model is the private sector kind of comes in and steals these ideas. So the podcast is called People of Agency. Listen to episode 11 and episode, I think it was 9. Those are 2 good episodes. They're going to be coming onto our podcast later, and this all ties into building a coalition to save USPS from mismanagement. So again, thank you for everyone that has come into the Zoom on Sunday, March 29th at 11 a.m. And thank you to everyone that is listening so far and making it to the end of this episode. Solidarity with everyone. Thank you.